Before the end, there was a silence. Not the silence of peace, not the silence of sleep, but the silence that comes when the world itself seems to know something terrible is near. There are stories that entertain us, stories that inspire us, stories that warn us. And then there are stories like this one: ancient, terrible, beautiful. A story born in the icy breath of the north, carried through firelit halls by voices that trembled with awe. A legend not merely about the end of the world, but about the end of gods. This is the legend of Ragnarok. In the Old Norse imagination, the universe was not empty, it was alive. Every realm, every river, every shadow, every storm was bound together by something greater than kings, greater than armies, greater even than the gods themselves. At the center of all things stood Yggdrasil, the world tree. Its roots reached into the deepest wells of wisdom, death, and destiny. Its branches held the heavens, and upon its living frame rested the nine realms: Asgard, home of the gods; Midgard, home of humankind; Jotunheim, where the giants waited; and Hel, where the dead kept their silence. Everything was connected. Everything was held in balance. But balance is never the same as safety. For even in the halls of the divine, there was one truth no power could escape: fate. The gods of the Norse world were mighty. They commanded thunder, ruled kingdoms, crossed worlds, and bent magic to their will. But they were not immortal in the way later people imagined gods to be. They could bleed, they could grieve, they could fail, and one day they would die. That is what makes this legend so haunting. Because Ragnarok is not the story of gods who do not know what is coming. It is the story of gods who do. Odin, the Allfather, was not only a king, he was a seeker. He traded an eye for wisdom, hung himself upon the world tree for knowledge, spoke with seers, chased prophecy into places no sane being would go. Thor, son of Odin, was the storm-given flesh, a protector, a warrior, the hammer-bearer who stood between chaos and the fragile world of men. Tyr, noble and brave, was honor sharpened into sacrifice. Heimdall, watchman of the gods, could hear the grass grow and see farther than any other being alive. Freyr brought peace, sunlight, harvest, and life. And then there was Loki, not a god in the clean and noble sense, not a giant in the simple sense either. He was something far more dangerous: a shapeshifter, a schemer, a spark in dry wood, the smile before disaster, the mind that could save the gods one day and destroy them the next. He was laughter in the middle of sacred things. He was cleverness without loyalty, charm without peace, fire without warmth. And deep within the world of the gods, long before swords were raised and skies were torn apart, the seeds of Ragnarok had already been planted. Among all the gods, there was one who seemed untouched by darkness: Balder, beloved by all, radiant, gentle, pure. If Odin was power burdened by wisdom and Thor was strength burdened by duty, then Balder was something softer, something rare: hope. He was the shining one, the god whose presence made the halls of Asgard brighter, the one no one imagined could ever fall. But it is often the brightest light that casts the longest shadow. Balder began to dream, dreams of death, dreams of sorrow, dreams that hung over the heavens like gathering storm clouds. And in a world where dreams could be warnings, these were not dismissed. Odin feared them. Frigg, Balder's mother, feared them most of all. So she did what any mother would do when faced with the impossible. She tried to stop fate itself. She went to every corner of creation, to fire, to water, to metal, to wood, to beasts and illness and stone and poison. And from each one she demanded an oath that none of them would ever harm her son. And one by one, the world agreed. So certain was Balder's safety that the gods turned it into sport. They laughed, they cheered, they tossed spears and stones and axes at him and watched them glance harmlessly away. For a moment, it must have seemed that destiny had been defeated, but fate does not break so easily. And Loki was watching. He found what others had overlooked: mistletoe. Small, young, harmless looking, so insignificant that no oath had been demanded from it. And in that tiny forgotten thing, Loki found the crack in the wall of heaven. He fashioned a weapon from mistletoe, placed it into the hands of Hoder, Balder's blind brother. And with false guidance, he aimed the hand that could not see. The weapon flew, and Balder fell. Imagine that moment. The laughter stopping in a single breath, the joy drained from the air, the golden god lying still upon the earth. The impossible had happened. Not just a death, but the death of innocence, the death of certainty, the death of the comforting illusion that the beloved are protected simply because they are loved. The gods wept, the world wept, the trees mourned, the stones mourned. Even creation itself seemed to bow in grief. And though they tried to bring Baldur back from the realm of the dead, though they begged for mercy, though nearly all things agreed to cry for his return, one voice did not. And that voice was Loki's. Baldur remained in hell, and from that day forward, the world was no longer whole. There are stories where the end comes suddenly. Ragnarok is not one of them. Ragnarok approaches slowly, like winter entering through a cracked door. First through grief, then through fracture, then through cold. And then came Fimbulwinter, the great winter. 3 endless winters without a summer between them. No warmth, no harvest, no relief. Snow swallowed the earth. Ice strangled the rivers. The sun gave little light. The world starved. But the cold did more than freeze the land. It froze the human heart. Brother turned against brother. Families broke. Honor thinned. Mercy vanished. Men killed for food, for fear, for suspicion, for nothing at all. This is one of the deepest truths in the legend. The world does not end only with monsters and flame. It also ends when people forget how to love each other, when trust collapses, when greed becomes stronger than kinship, when survival devours compassion. Before Ragnarok destroys the world physically, it destroys it morally. And when that decay is complete, the final hour begins. The wolves that have chased the sun and moon across the sky finally catch their prey. Darkness falls, the earth shakes, mountains split, trees tremble to their roots, the seas rise, and the chains that once held terror in check break. Fenrir, the monstrous wolf, child of Loki, bursts free. His jaws stretch so wide that one scrapes the heavens while the other tears the earth. His hunger is not the hunger of an animal, it is the hunger of chaos itself. Jormungandr, the Midgard serpent, rises from the depths of the sea, so vast that it coils around the entire world. It thrashes the oceans into poison and flood. And Loki, bound for his crimes beneath the earth, finally escapes his torment. The trickster returns, not as a reluctant wanderer, not as a mischief maker, but as an enemy. Then comes Naglfar, the dreadful ship made from the nails of the dead, sailing through the broken waters, carrying the armies of ruin. Giants march. The dead rise. The fire-born powers of Muspelheim ride forth under Surtur, the burning destroyer, with a sword brighter than the sun. And above it all, the cosmos itself begins to come apart. Then Heimdall blows the Gjallarhorn. It is not merely a call to battle. It is the sound of the end announced, the sound that rolls across every realm, the sound that wakes gods, men, monsters, and memory. The sound that says, now. Now the final story begins. And this is what makes Ragnarok unforgettable. Because the gods do not flee. They do not hide in their golden halls. They do not beg for a different ending. They arm themselves. Odin knows the prophecies better than any of them. He knows what awaits him. He has spent lifetimes trying to understand it, delay it, prepare for it. But when the end comes, he does not retreat. He mounts Sleipnir. He takes up Gungnir, his spear, and he rides toward the battlefield. Not because he believes fate will spare him, but because dignity demands it. There is something profoundly human in that. To know the battle may be lost and still choose to stand. To know death is certain and still raise your head. To know the night is falling and still light the torch. That is the soul of Ragnarok. Not victory, courage. The final battle is fought on the plain of Vigrid. It is no ordinary battlefield. It is where destiny itself comes to collect its due. Odin rides first, straight toward Fenrir. Wisdom against savagery, kingship against chaos. The father of gods against the beast prophesied to devour him, and devour him it does. Fenrir swallows Odin whole. The Allfather falls, the ruler of Asgard, the seeker of wisdom, the one-eyed wanderer who sacrificed so much to understand the world, consumed. There are few images in mythology more brutal than that. And yet the story does not stop there, because from grief comes vengeance. Vidar, Odin's silent son, steps forward. He places one foot upon the wolf's jaw, grasps the upper mouth with terrible strength, and tears Fenrir apart. It is a moment of fury, of loyalty, of love answering horror. Even at the end of all things, a son avenges his father. And then there is Thor. Perhaps no figure in the story burns brighter in the final hour than Thor. He has always been the shield of gods and men, the hammer in the storm, the one who met danger head-on, and waiting for him is the enemy written into his own fate. Jormungandr, the world serpent. Their hatred is ancient, their struggle inevitable. When they meet on the field of Ragnarok, it is not merely a duel, it is the sea against the sky, poison against thunder. The circle of death against the force that breaks mountains. Thor strikes, Mjolnir crashes down, again, 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 and the serpent falls. The protector wins, but not for long, because victory in Ragnarok always comes with blood. Thor takes 9 steps, just 9, 1, 2, 3, each heavier than the last. The venom of the dying serpent fills him, burns through him, overcomes even the strongest of the gods, and after 9 steps, Thor falls dead. There is greatness in triumph. But there is something even greater in a hero who finishes the fight knowing it will cost everything. All across the battlefield, the old powers meet their last reflections. Freyr faces Surtur, but without the sword he once gave away, he cannot withstand the Lord of Fire. And he falls. Tyr, the brave one-handed god, meets Garm, the Hound of Hell. They kill one another. And then, perhaps most fittingly of all, Heimdall and Loki meet in the last duel, the Watchman and the Deceiver. The guardian of order and the architect of its collapse. They strike, they wound, they fall. Both die together, as if the universe itself is closing an old argument with blood. And then comes Surtur. Fire given purpose, destruction given form. He lifts his blazing sword, and with it, the world is set aflame. The heavens burn, the earth burns. Forests collapse into embers. Mountains vanish in fire. The seas boil, the sky splits. Stars disappear. This is not just war anymore. This is unmaking, the end of the age, the funeral pyre of the old world. Ragnarok has come. And in that blackness, you might expect the story to end. Many do. But that is not the true wonder of this legend, because the Norse did not imagine the end as emptiness forever. They imagined something more difficult and perhaps more hopeful. After destruction came renewal. The fire dies, the waters settle, and from the sea the earth rises again, fresh, green, cleansed. Not untouched by what came before, but remade. The surviving gods return. Vidar and Vali endure. Modi and Magni, the sons of Thor, survive and inherit their father's hammer. And most beautiful of all, Baldur returns. The shining god comes back from the realm of death. So does Hoder, the slain brother, the blind brother who was used as a weapon. And in the new world, they are reconciled. Think about that. After all the betrayal, vengeance, and ruin, the reborn world begins not with another killing, but with forgiveness. That may be one of the most astonishing things in all myth. And humanity too survives, not through conquest, not through strength, but through endurance. A man and a woman, Lif and Lifthrasir, emerge from their hiding place after the destruction has passed, and from them, the human story begins again. This is why Ragnarok has lived so long in the human imagination, because it is not only an apocalypse. It is a truth wrapped in gods and serpents and wolves and fire, yes, but a truth all the same. It tells us that even the mighty fall, that no kingdom lasts forever, that grief comes for every heart, that beauty can be broken, that love does not always prevent loss. But it also tells us this, that endings are not always absolute, that after winter, something may still bloom, that after fire, something may still grow, that after the old world collapses, a new one may rise, wiser than the last. And perhaps that is why this story still speaks to us now, because we too know what it means to fear the end of peace, the end of certainty, the end of innocence, the end of the world as we knew it. We know what it is to watch things fall apart, to lose people we thought we could never lose, to stand in the ruins of something we loved and wonder if anything good can possibly come after. Ragnarok does not offer easy comfort. It does not lie. It does not say the brave are always spared. It does not promise that every battle ends in victory. Its message is harsher and somehow more noble. Stand anyway. Love anyway. Fight for what matters anyway. Even if the storm is already on the horizon, even if the night is closing in, even if you know deep down that nothing lasts forever, because meaning is not born from avoiding the end. Meaning is born from how we face it. That is the legend of Ragnarok. Not merely the end of the world, but the last great stand of courage against destiny. The death of gods, the breaking of heaven, the collapse of order, the triumph of fire, the sorrow of loss, and beyond all that, the stubborn, impossible return of life. So when you hear the name Ragnarok, do not think only of destruction. Think of Odin riding toward the wolf. Think of Thor taking 9 final steps. Think of Baldur returning after death. Think of a world burned to ash and a green earth rising once more from the sea. Think of courage without certainty, hope after ruin, and the eternal truth that even when everything seems lost, the story may not be over. And if this legend stirred something in you, if you felt the cold of Fimbulwinter, heard the Gjallarhorn in your imagination, or saw the fires of the final battle in your mind, make sure you like, comment, and share. You can also follow for more updates like this and join us for more stories where myth, mystery, and history come alive.